Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. We've been on a tour on tips for successful parenting and I've deviated a bit into different types of parenting styles. On tip 4, I talked about neglectful parenting. This is tip 5, where I'm going to dive into talking about authoritarian parents in this episode, who they are and why it becomes so difficult and sometimes impossible to have a healthy adult relationship with them. Authoritarian parenting is a style that includes strict rules, obedience, punishment, and a top-down power structure. Authoritarian parenting style is the type that the parent word is final and the child has to comply. There is a very little warm connection or a two-way communication. How do I mean by a two-way communication? There is completely absence of two-way communication, meaning that it's only the parent that has the right to talk. The child doesn't have the right to talk. The child cannot negotiate. The child cannot actually express himself or herself, meaning that it's either the parent's way or there is no way at all. Now, parents running this type of style focus more on having the final say. You cannot express yourself. They see themselves on top of the ladder as the one who has the final say or has the final authority. And all this has outcome because it leads to low self-esteem, non-negotiable kids that can not think out of the box except do whatever they are told to do. Now, at the same time, obedience is done out of fear. Such children will definitely, out of fear, want to obey their parent because they want to avoid being punished. Such children, they will internalize whatsoever thoughts they have, and which can lead to a suppressed anger inside of them. Why? Because the environment does not permit them to actually express themselves. And in homes where authoritarian style is being used, you discover that it's more or less like a military zone. Now, studies on authoritarian parenting style had showed that this type of parenting style leads to negative outcomes in children as a result of strict rules, rigidity, which reduces social competence, and poor emotional regulation, increased anxiety among so many effects which are negative. Now, authoritarian parenting is built on a kind of hierarchy like the parents seeing themselves like they are on top of the ladder, they have it all, they know it all, and whatsoever they say, nobody, no child can actually question them. And by the time those children becomes adults, at the end of the day, you discover that they distance themselves. They have what you call emotional neglect. They are not actually close to their parent as a result of the effects of the authoritarian relationship they have with their parents. They kind of distance themselves because at the end of the day, their emotions are messed up. They cannot think out of the box. Their critical thinking is not being used. Now, this authoritarian parenting style does not only have the negative aspect, but they have the positive aspects, which are very, very limited. And the negative aspect actually far outweigh the positive side. The positive side is that they are compliant, they are obedient, they are easygoing, they are disciplined. But this is not what adulthood is all about. It's wrong for you to have a child or someone around you who is a yes person, that whatever you say is yes, whether good or bad, is just a yes individual. Now, looking at the negative side, they tend to be shy, they struggle with indecision, they are rebellious later in life, they have poor social interaction, they seek for affirmation, reassurance, and acceptance. They are afraid to take risk because their critical thinking had not actually been made use of. They are yes individuals. They are compulsive liars. They rarely stand up for themselves, and they have anger issue which could be defensive, especially when you're trying to probably pass information across to them. Now, guess how this play out when they get to the adult stage. Now, such children are much closer to either of the parents that are probably empathize with them, have listening skills, and are able to be considerate whenever they are passing any information or instruction across them. And we see this playing out, especially in our society these days, or in families, especially when the parents have gotten to old age. If it's the mother that is actually more closer to the children when they were younger, you discover that at old age, these children will be more closer to their mom. I mean, if it's the father, the same thing is applicable. Then you will now start hearing grumbling from either of the parents that the children are more closer to you. Whenever the children put a call across, they speak first, and they are even more in touch with either of the parents that probably listen to them, empathize with them, understand, and are considerate when they were younger. And this tends to probably bring conflict in old age when these children are closer more to the one who actually listened to them while they were younger. So this kind of bring a kind of distance and strain the relationship between the one who was actually an authoritarian parenting. Now, secondly, is that these children are critical thinking are not being made use of as a result of the way they were brought up, because they were always told what to do, what not to do. Like I said in one of my videos, I said it's not just enough to tell a child what not to do. It should be followed by explanation. Why are you telling them not to do a particular thing, and what is the consequence of doing that thing? When you do this by explaining in details and letting them see the consequences, you don't have to be there to always tell them what to do or what not to do. And by bringing them up this way, when they are alone or when they get to adult stage, they can actually make use of their critical thinking, which has to do with the prefrontal cortex of the brain that is actually being made use of while they were younger. And we could equally see this playing out in the lives and in the lives of some students that engages in exam malpractice, because their brain, their critical thinking had been trained in such a way that they can't think, they cannot read to understand. All you just know is that they have to kind of either cram or get a book to do what? To copy. When they are face to face with questions that are technical, they cannot think out of the box. Or if they have an institution like a teacher, because parents too are like institutions, when they come across a teacher that tells them la cram la pour, as in just cram and give me back whatever I give you, such students cannot think out of the box. So it becomes difficult for adults like this, individuals like this, to think out of the box, because their prefrontal cortex had not been made use of while they were growing up, because they were always told what to do and what not to do. And I've actually heard of cases of some African mothers or parents that had probably brought up their children with this type of style, that when such children probably get to a stage in life where they're about making a critical decision, especially when it has to do with marriage, and the children is like, one of them is like, this is the person I want to marry, and the mother is insisting you can't marry that. And if there's conflict between such a child and the mother, and it's like they are in contrast, some African mothers, like I've had, will remove their slippers and hold their breast and tell their child that, except if you didn't suck my breast, except if I didn't carry you for 9 months, that is when you will go out of the way to do what I told you not to do. That is manipulation. Such a child will be, the emotions will be messed up. They cannot actually think out of the box. And with children alike that grow from this kind of environment, you find out that when they grow up, they find it difficult to love themselves. They start looking and searching for love where they are not supposed to actually search for love. And at the end of the day, even if they are able to cite just a little love, they cannot think out of the box to put 1 + 1 together. Am I supposed to actually marry this person? Am I supposed to go into a relationship with this person? Why? Because their thinking faculty had in a way been messed up. And when they get to adult stage, you find out that they are confused. They live in such a life that they cannot think by themselves. They look for people to think for them. They look for people to validate them. They look for people to kind of reassure them. They look for people that will give them a kind of affirmation or acceptance. Now, the way out of this as a parent is, if you are in such a situation where you always tell your children what to do. It's not that you will not tell them what to do while they're growing up, but there's a stage, especially when they are getting to teenage stage, that it's not every time you have to think for them. If they make mistake, fine, leave them, correct them, and tell them this is what you are supposed to do and this is the consequence. That when you are not there, they can actually think out of the box. So it's key to be firm, but at the same time, it should be with care and with listening skill. And it's equally important that you understand that you should focus more on building relationship than just be a tyrant at the top ladder of being a parent. I look forward to having your feedback. You can send a mail to me at megatomservices@gmail.com if you have any contribution or you have any feedback, which I will quite appreciate. Thank you, and see you on tip 6 on another type of parenting style. Thank you for watching. God bless you. Bye.